Discover the incredible, heartwarming journey of 5 nations rising from Russia's hidden dreams. Alex stood at the edge of a vibrant suburban neighborhood, the golden sun casting long shadows on the bustling streets as laughter echoed all around him. He had once dreamed of engineering marvels in Russia, but America promised something different. Now, as a single father, he carried dreams not just for himself, but for Max, his 10-year-old son with bright blue eyes and a smile that warmed the coldest nights. Each day was a hustle. Working 2 jobs as a janitor and then stocking shelves at the grocery store left Alex's body weary, but the sight of Max darting off to play with friends filled him with an invincible hope. Every weekend was a promise, a gathering at the community center, a haven filled with stories and aspirations. There was Maria, her hands dusted with flour, dreaming of her own bakery, and Hassan, whose paintings told tales of survival and resilience. They were from different countries, yet their hearts beat with the same longing for acceptance, a different version of the American dream. Just a few weeks ago, they had laughed over coffee, sharing visions that reflected not just their individuality but an unbreakable bond shaped from struggles, but joy turned to dread the day they received the news. A powerful corporation planned to bulldoze their sanctuary to make way for a shopping mall. Shock rippled through the community like thunder. The community center wasn't just a building. It was the repository of their dreams, where longing met reality. Conversations turned heated, and uncertainty seeped into their gatherings. Some only wanted to protect their jobs, while others, driven by anger, pushed for revolution. "We can't let them take this from us," cried Maria, but fear hung over them, choking the resolve. With each meeting, Alex felt a weight on his chest. Their unity was fraying, unraveling under the pressure of their differing viewpoints. Friday nights that once overflowed with laughter became quiet, filled with unspoken fears. It was like standing on a cliff, unsure if the next step would bring freedom or disaster. Alex longed to rekindle their spirit, but the fire seemed to dim further with each passing day. Then, it happened. During a tense gathering, the air thick with doubt, they all shared their fears deep and raw. Max tugged at Alex's sleeve, sensing his father's turmoil. One by one, they opened up, revealing hearts that had been burdened with dreams for too long. That's when it clicked for Alex. Their shared struggles were their strength. They were more than just individuals in a difficult situation. He could feel the ancient spark of resilience igniting within him, igniting the others too. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As plans began to take shape, uncertainty loomed large. Could mere voices stand against a corporation? A gnawing feeling crept in, but so did resolution, a collective heart beating against injustice. Alex wondered if they were strong enough to reclaim not only their dreams but also their dignity in a world that often overlooked them. With hope tangled in fear, their gathering surged with newfound energy, ready to fight for what they believed in. The battle for their home had just begun. The following week, the community center buzzed with energy. Alex could sense the change, the warmth of renewed belief wrapped around them like a blanket. He arrived early, wanting to prepare a space for what was about to unfold. He set up the chairs in a circle, a symbol of togetherness. He dusted off the old whiteboard where visions had flourished before uncertainty dampened them. This time, it would be different. Max helped him, his small hands eagerly scrubbing the surface, now filled with bright ideas written in vibrant colors. As they worked, Alex caught snippets of laughter filtering in through the door. It felt like the old days, when their gatherings brimmed with hope. Maria entered, her flour-dusted apron pulled tightly around her waist, and Hassan followed with a splash of paint still on his fingers, evidence of his passion spilling over into everyday life. "I brought brownies," Maria announced. Her smile was infectious. The room brightened as people began arriving, one by one, bringing bits and pieces of their unique stories. Alex's heart swelled as he watched his community slowly knit themselves back together. They were a patchwork of dreams, all sewn into one fabric now. As the group settled, Alex took a deep breath. "We need a plan," he said, feeling the weight of expectation in the air. "The corporation isn't just messing with bricks and mortar. They're trying to erase us. But we're not going to let that happen." The murmurs around the room intensified. "We can hold a rally," someone shouted, and the suggestion ignited a spark. "A petition," another echoed. "Yes. If we gather enough signatures, we can show them we're not giving up without a fight." Maria's excitement radiated through the group, fueling their growing momentum. Ideas bounced around like popcorn. They discussed flyers, social media, ways to harness those powerful voices. Each suggestion was more daring than the last, and Alex felt his worries begin to melt away. They were ready to take a stand. They began drafting a message together, each word laden with heart and spirit. But then, a shadow swept across the room as Mike, a newcomer who had been quiet up until now, spoke hesitantly. "What if we fail? What if it all falls apart?" Silence fell. In that moment, uncertainty edged back in, but Alex felt the warmth of solidarity still flickering. Sometimes hope feels fragile, but it's also powerful. "Look around you. Look at what we've built together," he said, waving his arms at the diverse faces shining with determination. "If we stand together, we can't fail." Everyone nodded, their resolve hardening. They spent hours crafting the perfect message. An electrifying energy filled the room as they shared, reshaped, and polished their words until they shimmered with potential. When they finished, Alex stepped back, feeling profoundly moved. This wasn't just about saving a building. It was about something much deeper: community, dignity, and the fierce love for all they had created together. As they prepared to leave that night, Max pulled on his father's sleeve again. "Daddy, do you think we'll win?" Alex knelt down to meet his son's gaze, the mirror of his own uncertainty reflected back. "I believe we will, Max. Because we're fighting for each other. And that makes us stronger." Together, they stepped into the night air, invigorated and filled with hope. Yet, as the stars twinkled above them, Alex couldn't shake the looming question that hovered over them all: what sacrifices would they have to make to claim their place in this world? The rally was just around the corner, but Alex sensed that the real battle was yet to come. The day of the rally arrived, and the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the community center. Alex's heart raced with anticipation. He could almost taste the excitement in the air, a mix of adrenaline and hope swirling all around. Max bounced at his side, his blue baseball cap angled just so, grinning up at his father. "Are you ready, Dad?" Max asked, his eyes bright. Alex ruffled his son's hair, a simple gesture that anchored him. "Ready as I'll ever be." As they walked to the center, Alex felt a sense of purpose radiating from each step. The streets buzzed with energy. Families gathered, friends exchanged smiles, and the sweet scent of Maria's brownies lingered in the air. It was a festival of togetherness, and each person was a stitch in the vibrant tapestry of their community. Inside, people milled about, carrying signs with powerful messages: "Our home, our voice. And together we stand." Alex took a moment to absorb the scene. Laughter and spirited conversations filled the room, drowning out any residual uncertainty lingering in his mind. Maria caught his eye and waved, her apron now swapped for a t-shirt that boldly declared, "Love is louder." He joined her, feeling a bond of solidarity as she handed him a sign. "Here. You need this," she said, smiling as she taped it to a stick. "We're going to make our voices heard." "Let us do it," he replied, his pulse quickening. Once outside, they gathered on the steps in front of the community center, the crowd swelling around them. Each face told its own story, a mosaic of hope and resilience. Alex stepped up to the makeshift podium, feeling the cool wood beneath his hands as he scanned the crowd, his heart pulsing loudly in his chest. Today we stand together, not just for a building, but for a future woven with our hopes and dreams. He called out, his voice strong and clear. Cheers erupted, energizing him further. He continued, they may want to erase our home, but they can't erase our spirit. We're not just fighting for a place, we're fighting for each other. As the crowd cheered, he felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. Max squeezed his hand, grounding him. But just at that moment, Alex noticed a figure lingering at the edge of the crowd. It was Mike, standing apart, a storm of doubt still etched on his face. Alex's heart sank for a moment. He remembered Mike's words from the previous meeting, the haunting worry nestled inside them. What was holding him back? In that crucial instant, Alex knew he couldn't ignore it. He stepped down from the podium, making his way towards Mike. Hey, he said softly, finding a quieter corner away from the clamor. Are you okay? Mike looked hesitant, his eyes flicking to the gathering crowd. I just don't know if this will work, Alex. Alex paused, feeling the air thicken with tension. What if it doesn't? He said, his voice low. But what if it does? What if today changes everything for us? Mike's gaze softened, the shadow of fear beginning to lift. I want to believe that, he finally said, a glimmer of hope breaking through. With a renewed spirit, Alex extended his hand. Then join us. Be part of this fight. We need all voices, especially yours. Slowly, Mike reached out, taking Alex's hand. Together, they turned back towards the crowd as the rally kicked into high gear, electric energy crackling in the air. As Alex stepped back into the throng, he felt lighter. But deep down, a nagging question remained: if they managed to rally their strength today, what challenges awaited them tomorrow? Determined, he raised his sign high, ready to face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, yet it shimmered with the promise of possibility. Alex's heart soared as he joined the thrumming energy of the crowd. People were becoming one, a living, breathing force for change. Max was beside him, lifting his little sign, "Together we stand." With fierce pride, mirroring the resolve of everyone around them, the speakers at the rally, one by one, stepped up to share their stories. One woman spoke of her family's memories in their home, memories that haunted the empty spaces left behind in the wake of neglect. "We are more than just bricks and mortar," she cried. "All our love, laughter, and tears live in this place. We must protect it." Her voice cracked, and the crowd responded with murmurs of empathy and agreement, the collective understanding resonating deeply. Alex glanced at Mike, who stood just a few feet away, clearly moved. He nodded to him, silently recalling their earlier moment. Whatever doubts had gripped Mike seemed to dissolve in the warmth of this community connection. Together they were fueling a fire of hope. The rally carried on, and chants began to ripple through the air. "We won, back down," was the anthem that grew louder and louder. Each voice added to the chant, building like a wave crashing against barriers. Their unity was beautiful, messy, and sacred all at once. Then Alex spotted Maria again, her energy palpable as she led a group in singing, encouraging people to raise their hands in solidarity. The sunlight filtered through the branches of the old oak trees, creating patterns that flickered over their faces, a scene full of life and vibrancy. He felt Max's small hand gripping his tighter. "Can we join them, Dad?" Max asked, his little face alight with excitement and determination. "Absolutely," Alex replied, pushing through the crowd toward them. Together, they sang out loud, chanting their hopes, their dreams, and creating a melody woven from the heartbeat of their community. It was cathartic, releasing the fear and uncertainty that had lingered before, but then, just as Alex began to feel invincible, a harsh voice cut through the cheer. "You think this will change anything?" A man in a suit, wearing dark glasses, stood across the street with a small group behind him. Their presence felt confrontational, a shadow in the sunlit joy, Alex felt a cold rush of fear. Was this someone sent to discourage them? The crowd turned murmurs into angry murmurs, then the man stepped forward, voice dripping with disdain. "We don't need your noise. This is a lost cause." Max's little fingers tightened around his sign as a wave of concern washed over Alex. He instinctively moved to shield his son, but Max stood tall, unwavering. "Dad, let me talk." Max piped up, surprising Alex. There was a courage in his son's eyes, an innocence paired with a fierce determination that made Alex's heart swell. "Okay, buddy," Alex replied, stepping back slightly, pride swelling within him. Max stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly but rising in confidence. "We're not just making noise. We're speaking for everyone who loves this place." Gasps echoed from the crowd, and even the man appeared taken aback. Alex felt a mix of pride and fear as he watched his son stand in defiance. "Every home has love in it, and we won't let anyone take that away," Max declared, loud enough to reach the man across the street, each syllable resonating with clarity, igniting a spark of energy back from the crowd. The man scoffed, glancing at the people around him, but even he couldn't deny the power in Max's words. As murmurs turned to applause, Alex felt a surge of hope. Whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them together, son and father, neighbors and friends, all woven into a single fabric of resilience. But just as the crowd seemed to gain momentum, the man's group began to form a barricade, their faces tightening into resolve. What would happen next? Would they stand strong against the opposition? Alex's heart raced with apprehension and anticipation, the battle for their home just beginning. What would this confrontation reveal about their fight for the future? Max stood firm, his tiny frame radiating defiance. The crowd behind him seemed to sense the danger in the air, the energy shifting from hopeful to tense. Alex could hear the low rumble of whispers, the excitement dimming as uncertainty crept in. He wanted to reach out, to pull Max back, but the spark in his son's eyes grounded him. "Don't you see?" Max called out, his voice cutting through the tension like a beacon. "We're not just fighting for our homes. We're fighting for every child who dreams of a better future." The crowd, galvanized by Max's passion, started to chant once more. "Future! Future! Future!" Each voice like a drum beat, echoing their collective determination. The man in the suit flinched as if struck. Alex felt a flicker of hope grow in his chest. Maybe they could turn this moment around. "Look at them!" the man shouted, pointing a finger toward the crowd. "They're just kids playing pretend. This isn't a game, it's reality." His words dripped with disdain, but the crowd remained unyielding. With each shout, the barrier formed by the man's group began to waver. A few of them exchanged glances, unsure. Alex seized the moment, urging the crowd to rally. "Together!" he yelled, his voice joining the rising tide of calls. "We are not afraid. We will stand for our community." The crowd erupted in deafening cheers, their unity cracking through the man's bravado. The simmering tension softened, and a wave of solidarity pulsed through the people. They swayed back and forth like grass in the wind, vibrant and alive. Suddenly, a woman stepped forward from the crowd. Alex recognized her as one of the seniors from the neighborhood. She raised her arms, silencing the noise momentarily. "You think we are just noise? You call this a lost cause?" Her voice trembled slightly, her age giving weight to her words. "We have lived in this home longer than you have lived in your tower of arrogance. We know every creak, every shadow, we've built our lives here." Her emotion was palpable, a deep well of memories flowing out. Alex could feel tears welling in his eyes, and the same must have been true for many of those present. The man's hardened expression faltered for a split second, revealing something raw underneath. In that moment, Alex realized they weren't just advocating for a piece of land, they were fighting for their history, for the bond that held them together. The faces around him morphed into one reflection of strength and vulnerability. Max, sensing the shift, raised his sign even higher. "Together we can make a difference," he shouted, his voice unwavering in this tide of emotions. Just then, a police officer stepped forward from the sidelines. The crowd quieted, hearts pounding as they braced for another conflict. Would they shut down the rally? Alex held his breath. He could feel the weight of every heart there, the dreams and fears mixed in the air. The officer surveyed the scene, eyes darting from the man to the crowd and back again. "Excuse me," the officer started, the tension in his voice almost breaking. "What is going on here? Would they be met with support from the authorities, or was this just another hurdle to face?" Alex's heart raced as he watched Max stand tall, ready to lead once more. This was not just a moment, it was a chance for a breakthrough. What would the officer decide? Would they stand together or fall apart? The answer lay ahead, teetering on a fragile edge. The police officer took a step closer, the tension hanging thick in the air. Everyone held their breath, the anticipation swelling like a balloon in the summer heat. "What is going on here?" he repeated, but his gaze was softening as he looked over the crowd, his hardened demeanor slipping just a bit. Max stepped forward, his small stature somehow commanding the moment. "Sir, we're fighting for our homes. The company wants to tear down our neighborhood to build something that has nothing to do with our lives." His voice was steady, unwavering, as the passion behind his words washed over the gathering. People leaned in, their expressions shifting from anticipation to encouragement. The officer's brow creased, and he nodded slowly, processing the words. "And you believe you can stop this?" There was a note of skepticism in his tone, but also a hint of curiosity. "Yes," Max shouted, as if unwilling to let doubt creep in. "We're not alone. We're fighting for our future." The crowd echoed his sentiment, a ripple of determination washing over them. Alex felt a surge of pride at his son's bravery. It was infectious, igniting the fire in the hearts of those around them. He could see flickers of hope on the faces that moments before had been filled with uncertainty. The officer stepped back, glancing back at his squad, who seemed as torn as he was. The man in the suit shifted nervously, his earlier bravado dimming under the outpouring of communal strength. "This isn't a game to you, is it?" the officer said, his eyes flaring with a new realization. The crowd shook their heads, and the energy pulsing through them was tangible, raw and electric. "But what happens if the company moves forward despite your rally?" the officer pressed, trying to navigate the basket of emotions boiling around him. Max's courage did not falter. "We'll do everything we can to be heard. This isn't just about stopping them, it's about standing up for our rights, our dreams, our home. We deserve to be seen." Eyes brimmed with unshed tears, and whispers of agreement ushered through the crowd. It was surging now, like a tide that refused to retreat. The officer's stance softened even further. He took a deep breath, as if making a decision within himself. "All right. Let us hear your voices. You have the right to protest, but I need you all to remain peaceful. Understanding each other is the first step," he instructed, throwing a glance toward the man in the suit. A wave of relief washed over Alex as he felt a collective exhale from the crowd. They were being heard. Together, they stood for something bigger than themselves. Yet, amidst the relief, an unsettling realization crept in. Even as they celebrated this small victory, the battle ahead loomed larger than ever. How could they continue this momentum? How could they ensure their voices were not only heard but respected? The thoughts raced through Alex's mind as he watched Max's eyes shine with determination. Then, just as they dared to hope, the man in the suit straightened up, his demeanor shifting again. If they thought this moment would go uncontested, they were wrong. He leaned into the crowd, a sly smile just barely touching his lips. "Let me tell you something about fighting for your homes," he began, his tone dripping with a challenging undertone. The crowd braced itself once more. What did he have up his sleeve? What was his next move? A wave of unease swept through the gathering, and Alex knew they were staring down another challenge. Would Max's words still hold power? Would this rally truly spark the change they needed? In that moment, the air crackled with questions, each one more urgent than the last. The battle was just beginning, and they weren't ready to back down yet. What other obstacles lay ahead? The man in the suit leaned in closer, the crowd shifting uneasily as they awaited his words. The air felt thick again, a familiar tension simmering just beneath the surface. Alex's heart raced. This was not a time for bravado, it was a time for action. What you need to understand, the man began, his voice slick and dripping with condescension, is that progress often comes at a cost. Your homes? They are nothing more than old walls in the path of something much bigger. His gaze swept over the crowd, his smile predatory. We're talking skyscrapers. Jobs. Opportunity. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Alex clenched his fists. He could see Max's face contorting with rage and frustration. This was more than just a property dispute now, it felt personal. But what about our stories? Max shouted, his voice rising again. Our memories are woven into these homes. You can't just sweep that away for the sake of some shiny project. The crowd rallied behind him, echoing his pain and anger. It felt like the spirit of the neighborhood was rising up, old and young, united in grief for their shared roots. The officer, sensing the palpable unrest, exhorted calm. Listen, this isn't about fighting. It's about dialogue and finding solutions together. Let us not turn this into a brawl. His eyes darted between the man in the suit and the crowd, hoping to de-escalate tensions, but the man wasn't finished. He stood tall, feeding off the mounting agitation. You think this is about your neighborhood? It's broader than that. We're creating jobs for hundreds, even thousands. You're talking about a few families versus the future of a city. His words hit hard, slicing through the camaraderie that had just formed. People exchanged looks, doubt creeping in. Would fighting for their homes change anything? Or would they be crushed under the weight of an unstoppable machine? As silence fell, a woman stepped forward from the crowd, her eyes glistening with resolve. We're not against progress, she said, her voice steady. But we deserve a seat at the table. If this is truly about our community, then let us include us in the conversation. That struck a chord. Heads nodded. Hope began to pulse again, shielded against despair. Alex's heart swelled, pride flooding through him. This wasn't just about fighting against an enemy, it was about redefining what progress meant together. The man in the suit's confidence wavered, his grin faltering. It was clear he hadn't expected this level of resistance. Guided by their shared stories, families rallied forth, their voices merging into a powerful chorus against the tide of uncertainty, but then the officer held up a hand. It's going to take more than words. You need a plan. Solidarity is great, but what comes next? The challenge hung heavy in the air, and the pressure rose. Just as realization dawned that they were more than just a crowd, reality struck. They needed strategy. Eyes turned to Max, who stood resolute, the embodiment of their hopes. We'll organize. We need flyers, meetings, petitions. We can't give up now. His words ignited something ignitable, lighting sparks of determination in each person. As they dispersed to strategize, Alex felt the weight of possibility and doubt crushing down on him. Would they find a way to channel this energy into action? Could this moment truly be the start of something greater? The officer's gaze met Alex's, silently acknowledging the fight ahead. Remember, the officer said, the true battle isn't always fought in the streets. And just like that, the clock began ticking toward their next move. Hope wrapped itself around them, even as fear loomed just out of sight. They had to be ready. How would they build their dream? What risks would they take to protect their future together? Max gathered everyone outside the community center, the evening sun casting long shadows that draped over anxious faces. More than just a meeting, it felt like a turning point. The buzz of ideas ignited the air as they formed small groups, heads bent in close conversation. Alex stood beside Max, trying to focus. His mind raced with a dozen unformed thoughts, all battling for attention. What had the officer meant? Was it truly the end of the line if they didn't devise a strategy? The urgency pulsed in the afternoon sky. "Okay, listen up," Max called out, clapping his hands together. The crowd quieted, shifting attention back to him. "We need to articulate our message. We have to show them that we're not just numbers on a chart, we're people with lives, memories, and dreams." His conviction resounded, the words weaving through those gathered as if binding them closer together. A woman named Sarah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the mounting energy. "What if we canvass the neighborhood? We can collect stories." She glanced around, gauging the response. "Let South document what this place means to us, the first time we played in the park, the community dinners, the friendships that have formed over decades." Her eyes shone as she continued. "We can make a video. Show them what they want to destroy." The proposal hit like a spark. Alex felt the fire of creativity begin to replace uncertainty. People nodded. Ideas flew like kites in the wind. "We can host a community fair," someone shouted. "A chance for everyone to share their stories." Max snapped his fingers and pointed towards Alex. "You're great with social media. Can you get the word out? Maybe even start a hashtag? Something like Our Home Our Future?" "Of course," Alex replied, the enthusiasm bubbling inside him. His fingers danced anxiously, already imagining the posts, the images that would shout their shared history to the world. They divided tasks with the fervor of a sports team readying for a championship game. The energy crackled in the air as laughter intertwined with serious planning. It was more than just organizing, it was claiming their identity. But then, doubt crept back in like a shadow. What if they don't listen? A voice, quiet but hurt, penetrated the buoyant atmosphere. A teenager, his face tight with tension, looked around. What if they just bulldoze everything anyway? It'll feel like we're just screaming into the void. The mood shifted, a cloud passing over their momentum. Alex's heart sank. How could he reassure them? "You're right," he said slowly, "but if we don't at least try, we're guaranteeing our defeat. We can't let fear stop us from fighting for what's ours. Together, we're stronger." "Together," Max echoed, his eyes fierce. A collective murmur rippled through the crowd, courage rekindling amidst uncertainty. Suddenly, a door swung open, and the officer emerged, clearing his throat. "I couldn't help but overhear," he began, eyeing the animated gathering. "You're onto something big. It might be worthwhile to also speak with local journalists. They can amplify your voices." Grateful murmurs filled the crowd again, the officer's unexpected support reigniting their hopes. As ideas surged once more, Alex's heart swelled. They were building something real here, a community, a movement, an undeniable force. As dusk settled over the neighborhood, the glow of determination filled their faces. The world outside may be dark, but here, surrounded by family and friends, the light shone through, yet, an unease lingered. Alex wondered if the man in the suit had calculated their next move, or if he underestimated their spiraling voices of hope. The battle was far from over. What would their next clash look like? Would the tides of change truly stand with them? The answers hung precariously in the air, waiting to unfold. The next day dawned gray and overcast, a stark contrast to the vibrancy emanating from the community center the night before. Alex could feel the weight in the air as he made his way there. Shadows of doubt clouded his excitement. Was their newfound resolve enough to challenge the indifference of the powers that be? Inside the center, people buzzed with energy still. Posters decorated the walls, details of the upcoming community fair sprouting everywhere like spring flowers after a harsh winter. Volunteers gathered around tables, crafting colorful signs, while others shared old photographs, memories materializing in colorful prints as they prepared to tell their stories. Alex took a deep breath. He was ready to dive in, but he caught sight of Sarah sitting alone in a corner, her head resting on a table cluttered with papers. Concerned, he walked over. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, his voice low. She looked up, her eyes reflecting a mix of determination and exhaustion. "I'm just worried," she admitted. "What if we don't get enough people? What if they ignore us? Remember what we talked about? It's not just about the numbers. It's about what we represent," Alex said softly. "We're doing this for each other, for the memories, and the dreams. But what if that's not enough?" she whispered, a tear escaping down her cheek. Her vulnerability shocked him. As he gazed at her, he recognized that beneath all their bravado lay a current of fear. This battle was not just about preserving their homes, it was about searching for a voice in a world that often drowned it out. He needed to find a way to lift her spirits. "It will be enough," he assured her. "Every single story counts, and together we have strength. Let us just show up. Everyone's story deserves to be heard." She nodded, a small light flickering back to life in her expression. As they began to gather the photos, others joined. Laughter bubbled up again, the vibe shifting back to the spark of yesterday. Then, as all the excitement peaked, the door swung open and a familiar figure entered, the officer from the previous night. "I'm back," he announced with a smile. "I've got some contacts lined up at the local news station. They're eager to help cover your fare." Gasps of disbelief filled the room, joy replacing doubt. Alex felt the collective air lift around him, hope swelling. The officer moved through the crowd, encouraging people to share their stories and dreams, breathing confidence into their preparations. Finally, he turned to Alex and Sarah. "I'd like to do a segment, showcasing 2 or 3 personal stories from the fair. Would you be willing to share your story?" Alex's heart raced. His parents had often told him he needed to step out of his comfort zone, but now, facing the possibility of sharing his life with the wider world, he hesitated. What if his story wasn't enough? What if the risk overshadowed what they hoped to achieve? But as he looked around the room, filled with familiar faces, neighbors, friends, and even strangers who felt like family, he realized this wasn't just his story. It was theirs. He could feel the flow of their collective experience coursing through him. "I'd love to," he replied, a rush of resolve igniting his voice. "I'll do it. We'll show them what we're made of." As everyone cheered him on, he caught Sarah's eye. She smiled, radiant with renewed energy. Together, they were no longer just waiting for the storm to pass, they were gearing up to face it, ready to stand tall. But as the day went on and preparations flourished, something else lurked in the distance. A black SUV parked itself across the street, watching. The air thickened with tension. Who were they? What did they want? Alex exchanged glances with Max, whose brows furrowed slightly as he caught the sight. The optimism felt fragile now, like glass waiting to shatter. Would their efforts to rise be met with more resistance? Was the battle truly just beginning? The day of the community fair arrived, cloaked in a blanket of gray clouds that felt heavy and foreboding. It was as if the universe itself speculated on what would unfold. But within the community center, colors burst forth like spring flowers pushing through the winter's grasp. Volunteers scattered, laughter mingling with the rich aroma of Maria's baked goods. The tables overflowed with pictures, stories, and aspirations, each a reminder of the lives woven into the fabric of their homes. As Alex entered, he felt a surge of adrenaline. Max was at his side, beaming with pride, ready to showcase their voices. "This is it, Dad!" he exclaimed, tugging at Alex's arm. "We're going to make them see." Alex smiled down at his son, energy crackling between them. People began to gather, their faces a kaleidoscope of excitement, trepidation, and hope. The air hummed with determination. They set up booths with colorful banners reading "Our home, our voices." And stories that matter. As the event kicked off, the excitement merged with an underlying tension. Alex couldn't shake that nagging feeling that today would be both a triumph and a trial. "Okay, everyone," he called, his voice amplified through a small speaker. "Let us share our stories today and remind everyone of the heart of this place." The crowd cheered, filled with eager anticipation. One by one, people stepped forward to share their tales. An elderly woman spoke of the countless evenings spent on her porch with neighbors, exchanging laughter and life lessons. A young couple told of their first home together, filled with dreams and the clattering of pots in their kitchen. Each story pulled on heartstrings, weaving a rich tapestry of memories and emotions. But as the stories flowed, Alex noticed something move at the event's edge. A black SUV parked ominously across the street. A few figures stepped out, their expressions unreadable under the gray sky. A palpable tension fell over the gathering. Whispers spread like wildfire through the crowd. Alex stepped to the front, heart pounding. "Everyone, let us not be intimidated," he shouted, raising his voice above the murmurs. "This is about us. We won't be silenced." At that moment, Max jumped up on a nearby crate. "Yeah. And if they want to listen, they can come right here and hear what we have to say." Laughter broke the tension as the crowd rallied around Max's defiance. Their voices grew louder, an orchestra of solidarity filling the air. Maria handed out slices of her brownies, and a lingering warmth swept through, mingling with the rising courage. Just then, the officer approached, his expression cautious yet supportive. "Hey, I've been keeping an eye on that SUV," he said. "Let us stay calm. You're doing great. If they want to engage, we'll handle it together." The crowd settled slightly, but uncertainty still flickered in some eyes. Alex knew they couldn't let fear dictate their fight. He stepped forward, shaking off his own trepidation. "Do you see what we have here?" he announced, spreading his arms to encompass the community. "We have stories, love, laughter. Every moment we've shared is worth fighting for." The crowd erupted in cheers again, their spirit rising like fire. Just as the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the fair, the SUV's occupants began walking toward him. "Stop right there." Alex's heartbeat raced, but he held his ground as the man in the suit stepped forward, flanked by two serious-looking associates. "What's this?" he asked, voice slick like oil. "A desperate attempt at theatrics?" "Not theatrics," Alex retorted, confidence flooding him. "This is our truth. We live here. We love here. You can't erase that." The crowd rallied, standing shoulder to shoulder, their voices emerging as one strong wave. They began chanting, "Our home. Our voices." The man's expression shifted, a flicker of doubt trepidatiously crossing his face. "This is simply business," he replied, though his tone betrayed the growing insecurity behind his bravado. "Not to us," a woman from the front called courageously. "It's our lives. Our families. Just because you see this as business, doesn't mean we do." A spark of realization sparked in the man's eyes. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't battling a bunch of nameless faces, but real people with real histories. "Enough," the officer interjected, stepping closer, gaze sharp. "This isn't merely about you and your corporation. These people deserve to present who they are and what they fight for. It's time to listen." In that moment, an awkward silence filled the air, their voices momentarily quieted by the weight of the challenge put forth. Alex held his breath. Would they back down or seek to quell the fire growing beside them? The man in the suit hesitated, shifting on his feet. Maybe we can talk this through," he finally said slowly, uncharacteristically hesitant. "Talk?" Alex's heart raced, but he kept his fierce gaze steady. "Yes, let us talk. Let us not just drown out our voices for profit. Let us make sure our dreams matter. New whispers of agreement fluttered through the crowd, faces lighting up. Max squeezed his father's hand, an undeniable spark of hope blossoming in his small heart. As conversations began to roll, Alex felt a sense of profound connectivity fill the space. They weren't just a group of individuals anymore, they were a community together, engaging for the future they wanted. And no matter what the outcome, they had stood up together. And finally, they were being heard. As the day closed, the world seemed less daunting. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt promising. It was their moment, their unified voices carving a path to a new tomorrow. Alex looked down at Max, whose eyes twinkled like the stars that would soon burst into the night sky. "We did it, buddy," he whispered, filled with emotion. "This is just the beginning." "Yeah. Together we can do anything," Max replied, bursting with joy. The battle wasn't over, but they had ignited a fire that could never be extinguished. They walked home that evening, hearts full, spirits high. They had claimed their space, their voices, and it felt like home. Now, it is your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next incredible stories of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our community. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Don't wait not even 1 second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. Let's spread the message far and wide.